Okay, cool. And I'll share my screen. So one cool thing about having a smaller group is we can kind of go in whatever direction anybody wants to. It looks like a lot of people, so I run these polls. Have you guys been here before to Substrate Collaborative Learning?
Substrate Collaborative? No, I see this site for first time actually.
Oh yeah, cool. That's what I thought. Yeah. So every week, or I guess it's every 2 weeks, we do these calls every 2 weeks, and this is the second one. So next week will be the third one, and I've put up these surveys for like what topics people might want to cover. And it looks like this week, adding and removing modules came up, which is great because I actually was just reviewing a pull request on that today. And so I thought maybe we could do like a video walkthrough as a way to get started. And I also wanted to just mention on here that we now have a YouTube playlist, part of the official Parity Tech YouTube channel. There's one called Substrate Collaborative Learning. So it just happened like an hour ago. So after today's call, I'll put last week's recording and this week's recording on the YouTube channel. Cool. That's all I wanted to say about those. And then so this was my colleague Shawn wrote this tutorial for how to like add a new module to the runtime. And so I thought maybe we could go through this one and just do the steps, and then if we have more time, maybe we can practice like remove some other, in fact, Shawn just joined the call. Hey, what's up, Shawn? So then if we get through this, we can maybe remove some other modules or add different modules to just kind of practice what we learned here. So Kirill, I should ask you, it seems you're the only one with the mic working. Have you done, like, what have you done with Substrate? What kind of background?
Well, currently I cloned this Substrate package and copied balances module and trying to do something with it. Okay.
Oh, awesome. Are you Crosswind on Riot?
Yeah, it's me.
Got you. Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, made the connection now. You actually sent me the link to that repository, and I haven't looked.
It was you. Okay.
Yeah, me. Yeah, exactly. We both made the connection.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah, but currently I'm went not so far.
Yeah, cool. All right, so maybe this sounds like it'll be probably a pretty good level then. Hi, Shawn. I see the camera's on.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Okay,
Hi.
cool. I'm just in the public space, so if there's loud noises behind me, let me know. But
okay. Cool, sounds good. I don't know if you heard me saying this. We were actually going to work through these instructions from this PR you wrote and just.
Yeah, sure.
Cool. All right, good.
Yeah. The other thing is, I mean, if you have time, also I would love to hear what Kirill is doing and see if we can help you. Whatever you're blocked or something, we can just try to do whatever you.
We can even start with that.
Yeah. I think this is first. I think this is definitely something that's in my benefit to get that.
Yeah. The guy who wrote it's like we should definitely do this first.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. Okay, cool. So, Shawn, I should ask just for context, have you looked at the review I did yet?
I did not.
Okay, cool. So we can look at that at the same time then.
Sure.
So, okay, so the Substrate node template, it sounds like we're at least all at a level of being familiar with the node template. So that's where we're going to start. And one of the tools that we're going to use right away is called like Substrate Up. And Substrate Up is basically just some scripts that like automate the process of updating your developer environment, making your copy of the node template, and like initializing a Git repository so that you're like ready to go. And the one we're going to start with here is Substrate node new. So I think that's how you started here too, right, Shawn?
Yeah, that should work.
Yeah, right. Oh, yeah, right. So if you do this one line install, that will install the Substrate node new and Substrate module new and those couple scripts for you.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's what I'm going to do. So I actually pre-compiled this just because, like Kirill, like you said, it takes some time, but like just pretending that I didn't, just so we can get all of the details in the recording, I just did Substrate node new, and according to the instructions, we're going to call it contracts chain, and then author name.
Yeah, that's cool.
It asks me to sign my commit because it's going to make a git commit, but I don't like to give my password to other scripts, so I skip that. But it updates WASM, it copied the files, and now it's going to compile them, and this is the long part, so I'm just going to abort that. And then we'll go back to the, if you let that run, then you end up with something that looks a lot like this. And so, oh no, sorry, that's not what I meant to do. Yeah, something that looks like this. Okay, so I've got it open in my editor here. Couple kind of standard files. There's in the scripts folder, there's build and init. In both of these are actually going to be run by the substrate node new, so we're not going to do those right now. And then runtime is where we're basically mostly going to be working today until the end at least. So let's go back to the tutorial. Oh, and by the way, I should say, since I think at least some of you guys haven't been here before, I love it. Like, questions, welcome, tangents, welcome, so interrupt me anytime.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh yeah, and so it says if we've gotten this far, then we should be able to run this with --dev. So
yeah,
make sure we can do that. There we go.
Josh, have you actually done this end to end yet, or is this different?
I did. Yeah, I did it like 2 hours ago.
Okay.
Shawn, I think this was before you jumped on, but the most requested topic in the poll for this call this week was adding and removing modules. So the timing was like perfect, basically.
Sure. Great.
Yeah, so this looks like it's working. I'm just going to kill it with Control-C and keep going. Okay, right. So importing a module crate. So this is where it starts to get interesting. We're going to use SRML contract. I think you said in here, Shawn, this is one of the more complicated modules. So
yeah, certainly.
We'll start with it, and then hopefully it'll be at least easier or at least not harder on other modules.
Yeah, my comment is that SRML contract, I think, is the most complicated in terms of design. Because, I mean, you're basically building a WASM interpreter inside of a module. But in addition to that, like the dependencies and its feature set is uses pretty much everything. So if you understand all the pieces of this installation, I think you'll understand pretty much how to import any other module.
Yeah, nice. Okay, cool. So it directs us over to the cargo.toml file. So I'll open that up. And we're going to end up looking for a snippet that looks about like this, dependencies.balances. So, oh yeah, so the tutorial was very clear, but one tripping point, if for viewers who are following along, I was first looking in the main cargo.toml file, which is similar format, but not where we're working right now. We're looking for runtime cargo.toml.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so we're going to talk about this part soon. But right now we're looking for these kinds of things. There's dependencies.whatever for each module that we're using. So here's one for balances. Balances is in probably most substrate chains. And so we'll use it as our template. And then we'll type over it. And I think Shawn gave us the stuff to type over it at some point.
I think we can just copy it. We don't have to copy anything here necessarily. Yeah. If we go back to the thing, we can probably just do it. So get to contract, and then it'll be SRML contract.
Yeah, this is the same. So they all live in the same substrate Git repository.
Yep.
And we'll stick with the same commit that we're using for all the other ones. Wait, is it singular or plural?
It's just singular.
Okay, cool. Okay, cool. So we've added the details about our dependencies. So cargo.toml, basically that means when we compile it, the Rust toolchain is just going to do the right thing. It's going to make sure we have the files we need. And
yeah. So actually, if you try to compile it like this, it will fail. And I think you're very welcome to
that's worth showing, actually.
Yeah, sure.
So that we can actually see how it, oh, wow.
Did you save the file?
Ah. There we go.
So here it's pulling in a new one, I think.
Yeah.
I think this might succeed, but if you do
the
other one, it's going to fail. The native's going to fail.
Yeah. This is worth noticing too. It made sure it had the repository that we just told it to get.
Yeah. You can see it's pulling in other dependencies that are required by the contracts.
Parity common, for example.
Yeah. Now if you do cargo build release, I think it fails.
We haven't used, oh yeah, that's right. That's right, because we didn't do the like no STD stuff yet.
Exactly.
Do you want to say a little bit about what that all is?
Yeah, sure. So basically in Substrate, we compile our runtime 2 times, once into a WASM binary and once into a native binary. And one of the things about WASM and things about, like, I guess, like embedded systems or whatever is that in order to be really lightweight or to make no assumptions or something, they do not use any of the standard libraries. So standard libraries are the stuff that comes with Rust, that you get all these kind of packages kind of put in there, which give you all these utilities. And when you use no standard libraries, you kind of have to, like, I guess, add in whatever you need manually, or even sometimes work around different packages. I'm not the #1 expert on this kind of thing, but in general, this is the thing. The idea of, like, you standard libraries and you don't. And when you compile these runtime features, you need to also be able to tell it, like, when you're using standard libraries, you can use standard libraries. When you're not, don't. And there's code which basically depends, like, hey, it is expecting there to be standard libraries when you compile the native, and if you don't tell it to use it, then it won't use it, and you'll get errors like this. Like, there in that code, there's an assumption about using vectors, and I think that, I guess, is not available in the no STD.
Yeah, right. This macro to create a vector. This is the one that it didn't like.
Exactly. Cool. So we need to basically tell it, hey, use STD.
So we're going to make it just like we did for all these other ones in the list here. We're going to do, I think order doesn't matter here, right?
It doesn't matter. It does not matter.
Contract, STD.
And comma.
Alrighty, and okay, good. So yeah, so this is, I'm just gonna read what you wrote here. The second line defines default features of your runtime crate as STD. You can imagine each module has a similar configuration defining the default feature for the crate. Your feature will determine the features that should be used on downstream dependencies. So this, I found this next part really insightful. So for example, the snippet above should be read like this. The default feature for this substrate runtime is STD. When STD feature is enabled for the runtime, parity codec, primitives, clients, and all the other ones that are listed in this list should also use their STD features too. So I didn't realize that it kind of like delegated down the dependency graph in that way.
Exactly. And then, yeah, and then any dependencies that they have that they define in STD will also use STD. So it's telling everyone, hey, this is what we should be doing.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so important to enable those.
Wait, guys, sorry, I probably missed something, but this STD is a feature of, well, there is a feature of Rust STD or not, no STD. And here, for example, balances / STD, what does it mean?
Yeah.
Is it a sub-project?
No. So the feature system is a feature in Rust. And I think STD actually might be a protected keyword. I don't know exactly, but the idea here is
STD is the standard library, basically.
Yeah. Could we go into the cargo toml file for the runtime that you have?
Yeah.
So I think, yeah, right here. So this is the cargo toml file for your runtime for the chain you're building. And if you look at the very top, scroll all the way to the top, you see there's a list of features where the default feature is STD. And we've also defined a feature named STD, which has all these other things in it. We're basically saying that when you compile this, this code with a feature flag STD, and you can actually pass feature flags in the Rust compiler, that it will follow basically this feature set. It will make sure that whenever you compile any of these dependencies, that it will also compile using the STD flag.
So, for example, for line parity codec STD means that if we use STD features, then we compile parity codec also with STD.
Exactly. It's not a different path, but basically you can imagine that parity codec has a file just like this, which defines.
So it's three of features.
Yeah, it's a tree of features, exactly.
And in fact, we can, oh, well, not here. We could go to GitHub in a second and look at how they do it in balances. I was curious. I wanted to look at this build script. I wonder.
Yeah, we can talk about it if you want.
Oh, I thought we were going to see the no STD flag in here, but I guess.
I think no. I think you see it in go to WASM.
Oh.
There's a build there, that one. And here you're going to see so maybe something with no STD, or I think there might be an assumption that if you're building to WASM that it doesn't use STD.
Yeah, I see. Oh yeah, just because we're going to WASM.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Cool.
Another thing to note, actually, it might be helpful, is that if you look at the source file of your runtime, so go to source and then lib, you can see at the top it's saying that if you have not configured STD, you use no STD. So it's might be one of those things where you're actually looking for STD. So it might be that when you do cargo build release, there's somewhere in the configuration that passes STD in.
Yeah.
But here, this is that line where it's saying, if you're not using this feature, assume you know STD.
Yeah, nice. Okay, cool. So we've got that set up. So basically what we did was, like, as we just explained, we're going to delegate to all these dependencies. Like, we're using STD, you also should. And so we just have to add, like, to the list of things that we're going to delegate to the contracts module.
Mm-hmm.
So where did we leave off here?
Yeah, I basically just talked about the same thing I just talked about.
Yeah. lib.r. Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, you did. Nice.
Yeah.
The config attribute only applies to the import directly below. Oh yeah, that's right. So that was relevant, like here. So whenever you have one of these lines, like it's not applying to like all this stuff further down. Like line 8 only modifies line 9.
Exactly. And I think the formatting of that text is a little confusing for that.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Like this might make it a little more natural.
Yeah, and actually you can actually make it inline too. I've seen other code bases where they keep it inline.
Like this?
Like that, yeah, that is
Oh,
the same.
Yeah, nice.
But anyway, that's just
we'll leave it kind of mishmashed like that. Okay, so now we're ready to import. So let's see, import the contracts module, create. Wait, somehow I think I got. Oh, we already did this. I think we just went a little bit out of order. So I already added this part. Yeah. Oh yeah. So yeah, we did that part already, right?
We saw the error. If you could to add
the error. Yeah. Oh yeah, right. So this is one part I wanted to mention though. So in the tutorial, Shawn, you mentioned there's also this feature, right?
Yeah. Actually, I don't think you need it. I wanted to actually talk to Sergey about this, but.
Well, what I mentioned here is that actually doesn't appear on the v1.0 version of the contract module.
Oh, interesting. So this is the only something that's on the v1 2.0?
So I bet if we did this exercise on master, maybe we would need this.
Interesting, yeah. So I don't think you need it for this tutorial. And I actually, I was
right.
going to follow up.
I confirmed that. Yeah, that's right.
Okay, cool.
So we're going to skip that part.
Yeah.
But it's actually, the funny thing is that, like, I still found it useful to, like, see another example to, like, solidify that, oh, we can do this for other features, not, like, there's nothing special about STD. So it's almost, like, too bad that we didn't have to do it this time.
Yeah, we'll update the docs once we get to master, right? Yeah.
So, okay, so I think this should actually compile now. I think we're in a place, let me make sure I saved everything. So this compiled before.
Should compile again. And technically nothing should have changed about this one because the non-STD path we didn't change anything, right? I mean, I think it thinks it changed because we updated files, but that WASM file should be exactly the same.
Yeah, nice. So next is going to be adding the contract module, and and so this is going to look, actually, now that we've got it like imported and everything, this will look kind of similar to like if you did the CryptoKitties tutorial or the TCR tutorial.
Exactly.
And so we've got to implement this. I'm just going to hide my terminal and we'll circle back if that doesn't for some reason.
Yeah.
So the main, like, I sort of think of this as like one of the main things we have to do here. We have to implement the contract trait.
Yeah.
We've done that. So we're in runtime source lib now.
Yes.
A bunch of these already in here, just like we said before. So like here we're implementing Aura's trait. That one's pretty simple. Here we're implementing consensus trait. There's a whole bunch of them. And so we're going to do one. Ours is going to be something like impl contract.
Yeah. One thing to call out here is that normally if you're following a tutorial like that we've done before, you would have like a line also like mod block, and basically mod is like basically importing any of the modules or like, not like modules like substrate modules, but like Rust modules. So like template right now, there's librs and template.rs. That's a template module. Because we're importing it, because we're importing it through the cargo toml file, we need to do that. It's imported through that process.
Right. So so if I remember, Shawn, like in your substrate kiddies tutorial, you basically had another file here, just like template, or like could have even modified template. But now we're taking a slightly different approach, like, you know, contract.rs doesn't live right here, and so it's started in by putting it in cargo toml.
Yeah, and the reason why we do that is for the reason, I think, like, you don't want to, for example, if you want to add contracts to your runtime, copy the source code of the contracts module and bring it over to your code. Like, every time that Sergey makes a change, you're going to have to go and update your thing. It's not going to be good. You want to use this crate system to be able to just import a crate. And hopefully in the near future, we'll have a tutorial on how you can make your own crate so that if you make a module, it's not something that's like wrapped up in one runtime, but rather something that anyone can go install into their own runtime. This was like the step one into that kind of idea.
All right, cool. So we're going to implement this trait, contract trait, and the question is like, okay, well, I typed this much because it looks exactly the same. Now, what the heck has to go inside?
Wait, is it just me or did Josh's audio get like shit?
Yeah,
Oh, no. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, your microphone just like somehow really got bad in the last second.
Oh, my fan just kicked up.
Yeah.
It might get better when we're done compiling.
Sure.
Sounds like you can still understand me, at least.
Yeah, I think we can understand you.
Okay. So like in this case, since we're following a tutorial, Shawn is about to tell us what to put in here. But I think you also taught us more generically how one can figure that out.
Yeah, so let's just go to the reference documentation to the answer.
Oh, or maybe it's my bandwidth that's the problem. So in this case, we're doing contract.
It's SRML contract.
Oh. So there'll be one for, well, at least if it's in the SRML, there'll be one for balances, one for Aura, one for whatever, all the ones, democracy. And
we want to look at, actually at the top, we have a hint, we have a link for you. One of the things we thought were really important is traits. So this contract : trait is exactly what you need to implement. We have a link right at the top for you to get to it.
Nice. So this is showing us, okay, currency call event. Let's go look at some of the other ones that we've seen. Some of these will look a little bit more similar. There's one that has event. All right. That's
there should be ones with currency, I believe.
I thought I was going to see that too.
If not here, maybe this template doesn't have any other modules. There are, I mean, a lot of modules depend on the currency trait, like all of the governance.
I can't believe we don't have one in there. I think it's worth looking at to see what those look like. So right now we're working off a node template, but a more full-featured one is the full node.
Yes.
So here's its runtime folder, and its source, and its librs.
Yeah. So if you Control F currency, and maybe colon after currency, or equal, space equal. Yeah.
So staking requires currency, and we just say, oh, that comes from the balances module. That makes sense. But you know, there's usually a couple custom ones that come in here, and then other ones we saw. Oh yeah, like here's one we're going to have events again, and some of those other common ones.
Yeah.
How could we use log in contracts? Do we? But call, I guess, should be one.
Yeah. I mean, so what's powerful about this system is that if you look, we inherently have modules which depend on each other. So like this idea of like there's a balance in your overall blockchain, and you want other modules to use that balance, but you don't want it so that they have to use our balances module. Like if you want to make your own balances module, or you want to use someone else's balances module in the future, that this trait system allows you to do so. The only thing that is a requirement is that the balances module itself implements a type which follows has the trait currency. So the trait currency says it must have these functions, it must be able to do these things, but it can be implemented in any way you want. And this system where I have a module where I don't say use balances, but I say use currency, and currencies in my balances means I can go and plug in someone else's module and use that there.
So that's exactly what you were working on, right, Kira?
Yeah, sounds similar.
Yeah, exactly.
So I didn't do this before, but I want to go look at that that trait now, just since we sort of talked about it a little bit. So, that's not.
Go to the support, I think. Yeah. So our support thing has like a list of all like the major traits that our system manages.
Yeah, right. So, so now we're looking specifically at the currency one. So there's like a couple of types that we need. So like basically, if you want to implement your own currency that implements this trait, then you have to, define all these types. You have to write all these methods, and some of them probably might have like default implementations.
I actually think none of them have default.
Yeah.
Maybe, yeah, I'm not sure what default implementation is, but it's required that you implement all of these things to do things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nice. Okay. Cool. So, and in fact, this is the one that I ended up here on is exactly how we implement the contract trait in the main node. Is this the same as how you did it, Shawn?
Exactly. Yeah. It's yep. Exactly.
So, let's see. Where was I? Impl contracts.
Oh, you're in the wrong file. No, I think try contract trait.
There we go.
Yeah.
And I think I copied that line too.
Yep.
Yeah, nice. Okay, cool. So these three, I guess, are all internal to the contract module, right? Like it's using its own implementations of these things.
Yeah, so basically what this line is doing is basically saying, hey, the contract module has itself implemented this trait, and you can find it in contract simple address determinator. So if we actually go look at the contract module, this is actually, I'm not sure if I go over this in the tutorial, but if we open the contracts module, that'd be a good place to start.
Yeah, let's do. I don't think we did that in the tutorial. So that's going to be SRML. There we go.
Contract.
You want to see which one you want to see?
Lib. So first, do me a favor. Can we go look at did you close the crate page?
Yeah, but I can bring it back.
Yeah. So if we go back to the one more page backwards to the contract traits, maybe a little more for that. Yeah. So you can see here that something like compute dispatch fee, or like this is the determine contract address requires the trait contract address for, right? Yeah. And so if we go to the librs and we search contract address for, and then go down more, there's somewhere where it gets implemented. Yeah, so here, simple address determinator implements contract address for. Yeah, so implement contract address for simple address determinator, right? And then if we go back.
Let me make sure I'm understanding this right. So we've got some trait here, contract address for. In theory, there might be multiple different ways to implement that thing. Contracts module has already defined sort of its own here that we can use if we want to. And so I'm guessing the punchline is going to be like, this is the one that we told it to use.
Yes.
And that's,
you can see here. Yep.
This line, I guess, right?
Yeah, simple address determinator, right? So here we have imported a struct which has implemented this trait that we need.
Nice. Okay. So the question that I think I might have a guess at the answer to. So these ones look like kind of a way that it kind of makes sense to me. Balances seems like all of a sudden it just like exists. But maybe we did that at the top up here or something?
No, actually you can go and change that line. You can change that line to lowercase balances.
Where were we going?
Yeah. So this is the name of the crate, and then : I think you do currency and then triangle brackets runtime.
Nice. Oh, I see.
I could take a quick look at the code, but I think the idea is that there's some magic that's happening where, like, because the name of the type is the same as the trait and some of that kind of stuff, it can just figure it out for you.
Okay.
But I think this is an equivalent line.
Nice. Okay. All right. Nice. Oh, in fact, yeah. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, I'll look it up, but you can continue assuming that's the correct.
Yeah. Cool. All right, so back to so what have we done so far? Okay, so we implemented the trait. And so I think the next thing we have to do is put it in our construct runtime, I guess, right? So yeah, right. So we're gonna look at the construct runtime macro, which is up at the top, or no, at the bottom. Oh, my scroll is so messed up. Where were we? There we go. Okay, construct runtime. So we've got one for, again, for each of the modules. So like here's the one for balances, for example, for pseudo, for the template module. And so we'll do our own.
Sorry, I wanted to real quick, I lied to you. The actual thing you need is balances : module.
Oh, okay, okay.
Because it's in the module, but anyway.
Okay, I actually changed it back to just being balances, so
sure.
we should be good to go. Okay, that makes sense. So anyway, so here we're gonna do, okay, so we're giving this like human readable name, capital C contracts to the thing that comes from the contract module. And then here, in here, we're gonna put all the things we depend on. So like, you know, if this is your own module, you probably know what goes in here because you wrote it, or if it's SRML, you go look through the code.
Yeah.
Told us.
Yeah, and actually we can show you how you know when you look at the code.
Oh, that's a good idea. Do you want to do it with contract again?
Yeah, with contract. So the first thing, obviously, it's a module. So every module has the module one.
Yeah. So
module. Call is whenever you have dispatchable functions. So you look for declare module.
Yeah.
And if there are functions which users can call, those are callable, and therefore that's like.
So like you're talking about like, oh well, that one's kind of special. But you're talking about this one, right? Like update schedule.
Yeah, that one is. That one is also a little bit special because it's a privileged function, I believe. But like the one below, like put code, where it has origin.
Here's one that has origin.
Yeah, but I mean that one is also callable, but this is kind of a more obvious. Like, this is a user can call put code, and again, there's a function in declare module, and these are the callable things.
Yeah. So like in substrate kitties, there was one called like breed, for example, or I made a tic-tac-toe one where one was like, you know, take turn or something like that.
Yeah.
I think, you know, maybe this is just because I have like kind of a small worldview right now, but I feel like most of them need call.
Yes, and actually, I can maybe at the end if we have time, I can show you an idea of one that doesn't need call. But
oh yeah, or like I guess this one, for example. Yeah, that sounds fun to look into. Okay, cool. So one of them is storage, so that's going to be decal
storage.
Oh well, okay, yep. So decal storage. So we've made some storage elements.
So you need storage. Then we have event, declare event.
What's that?
We have event next, declare event.
Oh, I thought you said you didn't see any storage. I was like,
oh, no.
Okay.
No.
Here we go. Decal event.
Yeah, and we actually have to be a little bit careful here. So we have to look. You see that declare event uses public enum event generic T, right?
Yeah. Oh.
Right. So it is possible to declare events without any generics. But I think in general, you just always, most events have the generic parameter. So you have to make sure in your configuration to also put the generic parameter there.
Yeah, so we want also the angle T since we have it here.
Yep.
But if we didn't have it here, then we would want to just do like something like this, I guess.
Yeah. And then finally, config is the tricky one, I guess, but it's basically whether or not there's config in the declare storage. So in the declare storage, there are some parameters which you can say have config, which basically means that it supports Genesis configurations. And if this exists, then you also have to put config. So if you look at the kitties tutorial, there is no Genesis config. We don't teach that, and therefore you don't have to put config in your parameters.
Yeah. So like in my tic-tac-toe one, the configuration item is like the dimension of the board. So like the default is standard 3x3, but you can change it by your Genesis config to make like 4x4 or 5x5. And
sure.
so I guess the idea is like if you do any of that Genesis configuration stuff, then you have to do this, right?
Yep. With a T.
Yeah. How do you know in this case whether you need the T?
I think it's because you're using, like, for example, this guy is using the block number, which comes from T. But okay. I think even more above, I think if you look at this, that's actually a good point. I'm not exactly sure, but
yeah. Cool.
Not so hard to figure out. It's one or the other.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. I guess probably the compiler helps you when you get it wrong.
Yeah, it'll yell at you.
Yeah. Nice. Okay. Cool. Okay. So we've like my first module that I wrote
You
was
need a comma at the end of.
What's that?
You need a comma at the end of the bracket. Yeah. Okay.
Okay, nice, thanks. My first module that I ever wrote was your kitties tutorial, and I just remembered like there's basically three things you have to do here. You have to somehow bring in the module, which is either by like typing mod template or by doing what we did in Cargo Toml. You have to implement the trait, so we've done that, and you have to put it in construct runtime. So we're 3 for 3 now. So oh yeah, so I actually want to show this mistake that I usually make. I always finish those three, and I'm like, okay, this thing should build. But I think what's going to happen is if we try to build the native one, we're going to get an error because we didn't set up the Genesis config stuff yet.
Also, I think you need to build the WASM first, right?
Yeah, right.
But I mean, I guess that shouldn't affect the.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking. I'm curious what I got here. Maybe we made a mistake.
Yeah, event. So I think, can we take a look at your code? Something about the event type.
Yeah, trait bound event. Let me just make sure I read it all real quick. Oh, implementations were found. Okay, yeah. So that was in, I think it was the first one I did.
Should be in contract trait.
There we go.
So the problem, let's see, type of.
Oh, I spelled it wrong. Oh, no, I didn't.
Yeah, it looks right to me.
Simple contract trait for runtime. The following implementations were found. Let me get this, sorry, let me get my videos out of the way so we can see it.
Yeah, I don't think it's a problem. Can you go back to the
This?
Yeah, so this looks fine to me. So I don't think the problem is. Oh, is there like a?
I wonder if I didn't save this.
Yeah, maybe you didn't. Yeah, I don't know. What is how does the WASM complaints too?
Yeah, same error.
What did we miss?
My most likely hypothesis right now is that I forgot to save it again. I didn't have any problems when I did it last time.
The next thing I would look at is maybe the importing, maybe the event T typo, something. I don't know. One other trick actually I can mention is that the macro actually handles the importing of those 5 specific things. So you don't actually have to include them. The macro, sorry, if you go back to the struct runtime macro part. This is like a tidbit of information. I thought it would be noise in my tutorial, but what you could actually do is for the contract, just actually delete everything after the colon. Yeah, and then just comma. It just like balances and indices.
Yeah. And then I think, isn't there also something like this?
Default. Yeah,
that's the same thing?
Yeah, it's all the same thing.
Nice.
The macro basically checks, like makes the empty one into default and makes the default one into the 5.
Yeah, I have like kind of mixed feelings about allowing it to be left off because it's just like, oh, how was I ever gonna figure
I completely agree. I think that, yeah, I completely agree.
That's okay. We've documented it now. So, okay, cool.
Anyway.
So these are 5, right? That come with default, those exact same.
Yeah, those exact 5.
So like with timestamp, they didn't use default because they, like, for example, didn't use event and they added inherent. So they're not all the same.
Well, yeah, you can use default and have inherent. So you see the system has default comma log.
Yeah.
This one specifically, you can't use it because they don't use event.
Okay, cool. Makes sense. So let's see, that compiled. I think I just did the WASM though. And I think we're almost at the end of the tutorial at this point, right? Oh, yeah. We got to do the Genesis stuff.
Genesis config and the host.
What I was trying to show was that I expected the problem to be the Genesis config. So, all right, so let's see what happened here.
Is it the same?
Yeah, it's the same one. Okay, let's see. I want to just look real quick at how we implemented the trait here. Because I did copy that from the main node instead of here. I just want to make sure they're the same.
Mm-hmm.
And if not, we'll probably learn something from how they're different. Okay. This is from the main node. This is from the tutorial. Balances, call is call. Event, gas. That looks the same to me.
Mm-hmm. Can we look at the error message one time? Sorry.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, no problem.
But the error is present only with cargo build.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I did build the WASM, I guess. Okay, so this particular trait bound is not satisfied. Convert from substrate primitives. So here's a let's do this too. Or it sounds like none of us are 100% sure. So I'm gonna I actually have a branch. I made a branch for what I did early when I was doing this before the session. So let's see if anything is different over there.
Yeah, I mean, the next thing I would look at from this point is just to check the import was correct. Like maybe I set down the import.
Oh yeah. So that was here.
So we have here, we have contract in that list, right?
Yeah, right here.
False.
Contract.
Yeah, that looks fine to me. Yeah, I don't know. I'm just as stumped as you.
Yeah. So let's check out my other branch here. See what happened. Oh yeah, duh. This stash. So here's how I did what I did earlier.
Sorry, that's low.
That looks the same. And we did I did contract in here somewhere, I thought.
It's after balances. Yeah.
So that is what we did before too. Here's my trait implementation, which I'm pretty sure I just copied from your tutorial. So let's just see if this compiles. Maybe something wonky changed.
So yeah, make sure to run build sh first.
Yeah.
Scripts.
Oh yeah.
Wonder what it could be.
Yeah.
Can it be caused by a lack of, I don't know, import of from trait or something like this?
Import of what?
From trait.
From trait.
Yeah, like when trait is not in scope, it yields different errors. Like that, it isn't implemented.
Yeah, but I don't think there's anything there that's not right. Is the thing, just confusing.
My git check, if this compiles, then my next guess is I want to look at a diff between what I did earlier and what we did now. But my git chops are not strong enough to know how to do diff between the tips of different branches.
Yeah. I wonder if there was somehow a breaking change in the last. Okay.
Yeah, it would have been literally like in the last 2 hours.
Yeah, it doesn't look like it. Strange, it builds. Let me look through the tutorial, see if there's something in there.
Yeah. Oh yeah, we're past. Where were we? Let's see. Yeah, so there was this. So this is one thing I didn't do yet, which is this on free balance stuff. I wonder if that's relevant.
Shouldn't be.
I should also say, Shawn, one thing I learned from this tutorial was about runtime hooks. I had not encountered that before.
Yeah, and it's actually, I think, a really powerful feature of Substrate, the ability basically for one module to tell another module, hey, you should do something.
Yeah, so like in this case, basically, you were relying on the balances module to like notify the contracts module when an account goes down to zero balance, to just say like, hey, just so you know, these guys are like out of funds, right?
Exactly. So the balances module has this concept of existential deposit, which basically is when an account goes below a certain threshold, the balances module explicitly cleans up the data for that account so that the storage tree is like reduced in size. And so the problem in the current blockchain space is that you have accounts on like Bitcoin or Ethereum with these really small amounts of currency, which we call like dust. And these dust accounts, it costs more money to move balances out of the account than it does than the value of the money on that account is worth. So you have basically this tree state where all these accounts are worth nothing, but the blockchain is going to delete them, someone's account. Substrate is very explicit about the fact that, hey, if you're below a certain number, but there's this free balance goes to zero hook, and it can tell every module which has some storage about your account to basically clean up that information. So something like, let's say like staking information, or let's say like council information or whatever. If you're involved in any of those things, we'll clean up your account from those databases. In the case of contracts, a smart contract itself is an account. So when that contract itself runs out of free balance, it's telling the contracts module to delete its state, its storage. And this is actually a problem that's being solved in Ethereum right now. Yeah, your question?
Wait, guys. Am I right that this runtime hooks is feature of only contract module?
No, this is runtime hooks.
It's general.
Yeah, and it's built using a general framework. So if you want to walk through, we can show where the runtime hook happens.
So I can subscribe to any event which is declared in declare event.
No, so so the runtime hook is something that's lives independent of events. So the hooks that are available have to be basically the traits that are exposed by the module. So it's not like any event can you do a hook on, but the balances module itself has programmed this hook.
So we should be able to see it if we just look at the code for balances, I think, right?
Yeah.
So it's more like normal methods, just they can be called by sibling modules.
Yeah. So I'm not sure. Did you show the original hook area?
You're talking to me, right? From balances?
Yeah. So actually, if you search here, search on free balance 0.
I could not remember what it was called.
Yeah. So you see that there is a trait on free balance 0. And this trait, its requirement is that there's a function called on free balance 0. So if you keep searching,
let's look at it over here.
Yeah, we can do that. Support traits. No,
yeah, that was the wrong one.
Yeah, and you'll see this is the implementation in the contracts module. But you go to the support traits, the second link.
Oh yeah, nice. There we go.
This is that trait, and basically its required method is just one thing. It's on free balance 0, and it passes who the account is. And then if you go back to your other thing, you actually see that you can look at the documentation for how the contracts module does it.
For how the contracts module does it?
Or I mean, you can see that. So basically, in here, if you search, keep searching on free balance 0.
Yeah.
Yep.
Let's see. Oh wow. It was going to be like an impl on free balance.
Here, this is it. This is where it happens. So there's a little bit of magic here. I forget in my mind exactly how it exactly works, but you can see here it calls on free balance 0 function, and it does so on a generic. And basically, what it's doing is it's this line is like calling every module which appears in this in its trait.
Right. This is cool. Yeah. Right. So we're not defining the function here. It's the other side that defines, like contracts in this example.
Yeah.
I'm defining the function. We're just calling it here.
Yeah. So what really happens is on the in the librs file of your runtime, you're passing a tuple of events. So if we go to the on free bounce 0, can you go to there?
Yeah. Oh, I didn't do it yet. We didn't do it yet.
No, there should already be an empty spot for it though in the balances module. You don't have to follow a tutorial here.
Oh yeah, right.
Yeah.
Oh,
so here it is.
The branch that I already did earlier. So
yeah. But what you could do is, put comma and put another module, comma, put another module, a bunch of other stuff, right?
Yeah.
And basically, now when you call the on free balance 0, it calls all of these modules which are in this trait.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So like maybe if there's something where I've like an auction site where I've decided I want to place a bid, and then it turns out I don't have enough money to actually pay for that thing. That would be more of a use case for like reserving the token than being notified when it went to 0.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
I mean, another example is just, let's say I have a kitties runtime, and if your account dies, I should get rid of all the kitties, right? I don't need to store the kitties that you don't have anymore, right?
Right.
So I could have, comma, substrate kitties, and then my hook could basically delete all the kitties I own.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay, so it's the one that I did earlier is still compiled. So I'm guessing maybe we just need to like finish the thing, and it's in a state that's not going to compile yet.
Yeah. One last thing I would check is the git commit here.
My commit?
Yeah. What git commit is being for the modules?
Yeah, I didn't make good incremental commits here.
What I mean though is, if you go to the cargo toml file, what git commit is being used?
Oh, I see what you mean. Like the dependency.
Yeah.
I think it's the same. So we got 783CA.
Yeah. So I would say try to go back to the other chain and see if we can maybe just try again.
So yeah, same commit, 783CA. So let's finish doing the on free bounce. Or what was it called again? On free bounce?
Yeah.
Oh, that's not in here though. So we're gonna put contract in here.
Yeah, but it's not gonna solve it.
Is that let's see.
That's what you did is correct.
Is there? Yeah, what I was checking for is there anything else we had to change to make that work? You're just showing relevant code that's already written in the contract module here.
Yeah, I'm just showing you that that the contracts module's on free balance hook. What it does is it removes the code hash and it kills the storage of the account. And so it's just basically cleaning up storage.
So at first I was expecting to see a block, like implementing this thing in the balances module, but it's not. It's in the other side, like in this case, the contract module. And that's
and it has to be, right? The balances module doesn't know all the people that are connected to it, right? And the expectation is not that when you write a module that you have to go also edit the balances module. Again, this is a really, really powerful what's happening here, where you can write everything on your own and really have these modular modules, like truly modular.
Yeah. Oh, I did make this mistake earlier where I didn't do capital C contract. But.
Yeah. In this case, this contract refers to that that whole structure. Yeah. So why don't we?
Again.
Oh, here. Oh, it's something. This is related to the T then. So did we forget to do a T somewhere? So maybe the event T is wrong.
I think this looks relevant, right? Cannot find type contract in this scope. Did I spell it wrong?
No. But see, this is it's actually talking about raw event stuff. So this raw event is something related to the generic parameter. So I'm guessing that somewhere there's a T or something that's missing. Can we take a look at the other, like pseudo? What is the event? Can we remove T from the contract event thing? That's
Oh. That's a good question. That was in constructor.
No, it is T. Can we make sure the order is correct? I wonder if that's a problem. It could be because of the macro. Module call storage event.
Well, this is what's actually there right now.
Oh, default. So let's do the module call storage event config T, right?
Yeah.
Shit.
Shawn, does order matter there?
Technically, I think module always has to be first, but I think maybe the rest doesn't matter. But again, it's macro, right? So it's definitely possible that there are bugs.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I see what you're saying.
Man, this is
one thing that's a bummer too is that my computer takes a lot longer to compile Rust when I'm also recording Zoom video.
Yeah.
Let's see. What did we fail on before?
So the reason why I'm starting to think about this generic thing is because this term raw event is some of the stuff that it works.
Wow. So the change that took it from working to not working was this one. That's worth noting.
Is it? I mean.
Well, I mean, the default didn't do what we thought it did, right? We were saying that those should be.
But we also added the runtime hook, right?
That's right. You're right.
But I wonder that should. I mean, I don't think the runtime hook should break it.
Yeah, I don't think so either. But like, let's science.
No, but this is only build, right? We were failing on cargo build release.
Previously, they were both failing.
Oh.
Oh yeah, this is gonna be a little longer than it normally takes. I wonder. I'm gonna just turn off my video for a second. I don't know if that's gonna help.
Also, I mean, if you want to get to the end, we can just ignore this one error.
Yeah, right. Oh, I didn't realize you guys were typing in the chat. Sorry about that. I'm just looking. Nice. Okay, so that's still compiled when we took this out. So okay. So my hypothesis. Yeah, I agree. We'll skip past this. But my hypothesis that I'll test later is that I lost it. It was construct runtime. For whatever reason, default didn't do what we expected it to in terms of these kinds of things. So okay, so that's great. So then I think the last thing. Oh yeah, so now when we try to do cargo build release, the Genesis config is the last thing we have to mess with, right?
Yep.
So for modules that don't use Genesis config, I think we would be done now. This one does use Genesis config, and so we have to add a little bit to change spec.rs. Oh, Shawn, I'm really glad you came here to this too, because I had posted a question in my review that you can just answer for all of us now.
Okay.
So the question is, let's see. So here's what you told us to do. We make a variable called contracts config that has all of our configuration values that we care about. And then we do this thing where we just mutate it a little bit. We set enable print line to true.
Yeah.
What is this exactly? This is something that like is for debugging, I guess. Yeah,
this is a little bit of a hack into a hack. So at some point we were working on the contracts module, and we saw that it was really bad to debug contracts on the system. So we wanted to have some flag to enable the print line. We also didn't want to make a breaking change, because if we made a small breaking change like this config, then I guess it would break a bunch of people. So what we did was, rather than making a separate configuration item, we basically wrapped enable print line into the current schedule thing. And you can see here we have current schedule equals default, and the default is enable print line false, and then we just go in and then add a print line true. So if you look at the contracts module, you can look at the current schedule and you can see what the default option is. And we kind of just basically hacked in a new property in there.
But this println is about printing in WASM?
No, actually you can't print line in WASM. That's the whole
yeah, because of NoSTB.
Yeah, it's about running a node locally and running the native and then print line through native.
So the trick, Shawn, if I understand correctly, the trick is like you write the thing without the print lines, you build the WASM, you then throw in the print lines and then build the native.
Yeah, but in this case, we do some magic where I'm not exactly sure how it's implemented on the ink side, but on ink with this situation, you can just have print lines in there, and we will automatically remove it from you if you're building to WASM.
Okay, nice.
You won't have to actually manually remove it and unremove it.
Yeah, but isn't printing like no problem in native?
Yeah.
What is it all about?
What do you mean?
I mean this enable println. What's the problem with println? It's enabled in native, right?
Yeah. So I think so. Basically, but this is saying that this module can allow the smart contract that's running to funnel up a print line thing through the smart contract into your node, into your terminal.
Ah, okay.
And when this is false,
from code in smart contract.
Yeah. When this is false, then your smart contract won't be able to
makes sense
actually emit stuff on your node. Yeah.
So when it's false, like the beauty is when it's false, you don't have to change your contract code. Like all the print line stuff can stay in there. It just doesn't do anything.
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So my comment was like, it makes total sense now. My comment was doing it this way by making this variable just look visually a lot different than how all the other ones look, where they're like, balances sum, and then the config goes right in there.
Yeah, the only reason you do it that way is because you have to do that one line. So there's no way for me to say default and to say default except this one thing. So what I could do is build that structure. Like if you go to the contracts module, you can see it's actually that configuration is quite large.
Yeah.
I could just paste it all in there. You could also, just for the purposes of showing that it compiles, just not change that one property and just don't
That's
have.
exactly what I did. Yeah. So I did it like this basically. Contract is some contract config, and we have to import that still, I guess. And then I put all the stuff in here and just didn't change from the default.
Yeah, I mean that works, but you just don't get print line.
Yeah. So my question was like basically in this, like obviously if this tutorial were about contracts, we would want to talk in detail about that and enable it and stuff. Like in the context of just wanting to show how to add a module, I wondered if that was like distracting. It probably isn't really.
I had the same thought, but the fact is that this tutorial may be how people actually add the contracts module to their runtime.
Oh, that's a great point. And then
when you're testing, you actually want to print line, right? Like if I'm trying to test contracts I build on my platform, I actually want to print line.
Yeah.
The correct thing to do here actually is to make that, instead of turn it to true, make it a variable where when you build with --dev, the variable is true, and then when you don't build --dev, it's false by default.
Oh, that's an interesting idea.
But that I thought was distracting.
Cool. So okay, so for now I did this.
Yeah.
And
that's fine.
One thing I still have to do is bring in contract config. And then I think we're done at that point, right?
I think so.
But it's going to take forever to build while I'm streaming, so maybe we'll call it there. My next trick was going to be to remove the pseudo module from this runtime. It turns out removing stuff is a lot easier.
Yeah, you just take it out.
Yeah. So, all right, cool. Well, let's end this week's call here. We're just a couple minutes past the hour, and thanks everybody for attending. I love it when we get to talk Substrate together.
For sure.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
Yeah. So, Kirill, you were saying you hadn't seen the poll of topics before. So I'm getting to be more regular about these as we do more of them. But every time I make a Reddit post and I make that poll, and I'll have the people that run the Twitter account include the poll.
Oh, there is Reddit about Substrate.
What's that?
You said Reddit?
Yeah, there's a Reddit.
Yeah. It's r/substrate. Yeah.
Ah, yeah. I didn't check out.
Yeah. Yeah. Nice. All right. Cool. Well, good chatting with everybody. See you next time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks, guys.
See ya.
Ciao.